we're doing more 70 content. Yay! Alright everyone, today we're going to be doing US Highway 270. And this is actually US 270's second form, as the original US 270 is now US 70S, which we did cover back when we did US Highway 70. Also, this US 270 has a lot of terrible signage and has a lot of concurrencies, especially long distance ones with like Interstate 40, US 59, and US Highway 412. So let us get started with this odd child of 70. But first, you're watching TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today, where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. As you can see here, this is the map of US Highway 270, as it starts at a junction with US Highway 54 and 83 in Liberal, Kansas, heading east through Oklahoma, and finally ending at a junction with Interstate 530 just outside of downtown Pine Bluff, Arkansas. So with that, going eastbound on 270. So we begin here at the US 54 and 83 junction here in Liberal, Kansas, where we can see that we're concurrent with US 83 here. And while it does look like that US 270 does continue with US 83, it does not. We can see that there's an end US 270 shield right here in the background. So I don't know why the arrows is for both 270 and 83. It should just be for 83 alone, while 270 should just get one directional arrow instead of two. Anyways, here on US 83 and 270, we get our first mileage sign with Perryton, Texas, being from 45 miles away. They're actually favoring US 83 here, which I think is an okay. Also, Beaver is an okay choice for 270 as well. Here we are entering into the state of Oklahoma, as we're getting a leaving Kansas sign. And our first junction here in Oklahoma is with US 64. I'm now going to be concurrent with it as we head towards Beaver still. And our first mileage sign here in Oklahoma, we actually now get Buffalo as our primary from 72 miles away, so they're actually favoring US Highway 64 here, which I think is a-okay, because Beaver is not really that big of a place to be signing for a primary. Here's where we split off from US Highway 64, as we're now going to be heading south into Beaver. Our next mileage sign, we actually now get Booker, Texas as our primary from 31 miles away. And this is okay. Actually favoring State Highway 23 here. No, that should be Woodward. Woodward is the next major place we'll be passing through. Sign Woodward, okay. Luckily, after going through Beaver, we do get Woodward as our primary from 83 miles away. Here in Elmwood, we're now going to be joining with US Highway 412, which in my opinion should actually be US 56. And we're going to be heading east towards Woodward now. But our next mileage sign, we actually now get Oklahoma City as our primary from 210 miles away. If it's being signed from this far, it better be kept up on every single mileage sign up until we join with Interstate 40. Here we meet with US Highway 283 in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. And our next mileage sign, we actually do get Oklahoma City still as our primary from 174 miles away. Here we're now going to be joining with US Highway 183, and 183, 412, and 270 are all going to be concurrent with each other here. In our next mileage sign, we're still getting Oklahoma City, so it looks like that Oklahoma is actually doing a pretty good job with consistently signing Oklahoma City. Anyways, we finally reached Woodward, and we're now going to be splitting off from US Highway 412, as 270 and 183 are going to be continuing south towards Oklahoma City. In our next mileage sign, we actually get Sealing as our secondary from 30 miles away. Here's where US 183 splits off, as we're now getting signed just for Sealing. I do not like that. Or, I mean, that's okay, but I would prefer to see Oklahoma City our next mileage sign. But alas, it looks like that OK dot has somehow hit a ceiling and we're now getting signed for Watauga as our primary. No, I want to see Oklahoma City. You signed it from 210 miles away. It should be consistently signed all the way till we get to Oklahoma City. Here in ceiling, we meet with US Highway 60 and 281 and are now going to be concurrent with US 281 for a good distance. And here's where US 60 splits off from 270 and 281 to go head towards Visai, which is a terrible choice. That should be Amarillo. And we're now getting signed for Canton and Watauga. That should be Watauga in Oklahoma City, please. Our next mileage time, we're actually now getting Geary from 45 miles away. No, I want to see Oklahoma City. Anyways, skipping ahead to Watauga, we're now going to be joining with Oklahoma Highway 8 as we head south towards Oklahoma City. But our next mileage time, we're still getting Geary as our primary from 16 miles away. No, I want to see Oklahoma City. Here in Geary, we split off from US Highway 281 finally, as we're now going to be heading a little ways east towards Interstate 40. But of course, in our next mileage time, we're now getting an exurb of Oklahoma City as our primary from 26 miles away. We're concurrent with Interstate 40 through El Reno. Just sign Oklahoma City. You were doing it all the way back up in the Panhandle. Why are you not being okay, Oklahoma Dot? And after going through Calumet, we actually now get El Reno still as our primary from 14 miles away, and Oklahoma is pulling in Arkansas and signing just the 40 junction. Anyways, here, before we meet with Interstate 40, we always meet with Route 66 in this part of the country whenever we meet Interstate 40. And we're now going to be joining with Interstate 40 eastbound for a long concurrency as we head towards Oklahoma City. And here we actually do get acknowledged on Interstate 40, so I do like seeing that. Here in El Reno, we meet with US Highway 81 proper, and it's been signed for El Reno and Chickasha. And our first major junction here in the Oklahoma City area is with the brand new Interstate 344, and it's just getting signed as the Kilpatrick Turnpike, which I do not like. Now we're meeting with Interstate 44 proper here, getting signed for Lawton and Dallas going westbound and Tulsa and Wichita going eastbound. Now we're going to be joining with Interstate 35 here, and 40 and 35 are going to be heading towards Fort Smith now. Here's where 35 splits off from Interstate 40, and we can see that both US 62 and US 270 are also acknowledged, so yay. Here on the other side of Oklahoma City, we meet with Interstate 335, and it actually does get a control city, so I am impressed. Well done. Anyways, after a good 60-something mile concurrency with Interstate 40, we're finally splitting off from it, as we're now going to be joining with US 177 here, as we're getting signed for Shawnee and Tecumseh. In our next mileage time, we just get those two places on the mileage time, which I'm not going to rig it off. And here in Tecumseh, we split off from US 177, as that's going to be joining with Oklahoma 9 westbound, and we're going to be heading with Oklahoma 9 eastbound towards Seminole. But our next mileage time, we actually now get Wetumpka as our primary from 40 miles away, which I think is an awesome choice. And after we split off from Oklahoma 9, we actually now get McAllister as our primary from 68 miles away, which is an even better choice. Here we meet with US Highway 75 in the middle of nowhere eastern Oklahoma. We're now going to be concurrent with it as we head towards McAllister. And here's where we split off from US 75 and Calvin, as we're now getting signed for Ada and McAllister as well. In our next mileage time, we do get McAllister still as our primary from 30 miles away. Here on the outskirts of McAllister, we meet with the Indian Nation Turnpike, which is getting signed south for Paris and to US 69. And we also meet with US 69 ourselves, as it's getting signed for Muskogee and Eufaula. And if we take a look on US 69, we can see that our now new control city is Krebs and Wilburton. But our next mileage time, we actually now get Red Oak from 29 miles away, which is even worse than Wilburton. Anyway, skipping ahead a little bit, we're now going to be joining with US Highway 271 here, and you've seen a 1-digit US Highway sequential concurrency, 2-digit US Highway sequential concurrencies. Now get ready for a 3-digit US Highway sequential concurrency. Anyways, here's where we split off from US Highway 271, as we're now just being signed for the Mountain Gateway in this little town for some reason. But this here is in Heavener. We're now going to have a long concurrency with US Highway 59, so yay. In our next mileage we actually now get Mena, Arkansas as our primary from 40 miles away, which I think is a great choice because there's nothing left in Oklahoma to sign that is worthy being a primary. And we're actually now in the middle of the Ozark Mountains here, and we're now meeting with a child of US 59, US 259. And we're going to be continuing east towards Mena still. And we're now entering into the state of Arkansas. Yippee! And actually, starting off, we do get Mena as our primary from 15 miles away. So that is awesome by Arkansas here. Here we join with US Highway 71 and 270 and 71 are now going to be concurrent with each other. And I'm going to be skipping the 71 concurrency because I already covered it in the 71 series, which you can check out in the top right corner here. Anyways, skipping ahead a bit, here in the infamous Y City, we split off from 71 to head towards Hot Springs, which definitely is a great choice. In fact, our next mileage time, we do get Hot Springs as our primary from 68 miles away. Here, skipping ahead to the Hot Springs area, we're meeting with our business route, and we're now going to become a bypass route as we head east towards Little Rock, which they're actually favoring US Highway 70 here, which is an awesome choice. Now we're going to be concurrent with our parent US Highway 70 as we head around the city of Hot Springs. Here in Hot Springs, we have an intersection request. This one was made by Atwork Station. He wanted to see the Arkansas 7 junction, because Arkansas 7 takes you up towards the Hot Springs National Park, which he actually visited back in 1985, so thank you for that request, and that's pretty cool. Anyways, here is where we split off from US Highway 70, as we're not just getting signed for Malvern Avenue. I mean, you could just take off that avenue and just sign Malvern, which is the next place we'll be going to. And we can see on the ramp we are actually being signed for Malvern, so well done. And our next mileage time, we do get Malvern as our primary from 16 miles away. And we can see the Arkansas signature of signing the junction as our secondary. Anyways, here outside of Malvern, we're going to be joining with Interstate 30 here, as 270 business will take you into downtown. And here's where we're splitting off from Interstate 30 as we're now getting signed east for Sheridan. Our next mileage time, we do get Sheridan, Arkansas as our primary from 26 miles away. Here, still in the Malvern area, we'll meet with US Highway 67. But now our next mileage time, we actually now get Pine Bluff as our ultimate primary from 47 miles away. So well done, Arkansas. Here in Sheridan, we're meeting with US Highway 167, so a child of US 67. And we're now just getting Pine Bluff as our primary from 25 miles away. And now it's okay to sign the 530 junction because there's really nothing much to sign between here and Pine Bluff. So skipping ahead, here is where we end at Interstate 530, getting signed for Little Rock and Pine Bluff respectively. And sadly, Arkansas does not give us an end US 270 shield, unlike Kansas. So we're going to be turning around and doing westbound 270. So we begin here on Interstate 530 itself, where we can see that US 270 is getting signed for Whitehall and Sheridan. I believe Whitehall is actually for Arkansas 365 spur route here. Because if we look on our next mileage time, we actually do get Malvern as our primary from 43 miles away. Here in Sheridan, we meet with US Highway 167 once again. And here we get another mileage time, and we still get Malvern as our primary from 21 miles away. Here, once we get closer to Malvern, all we were just getting signed for is Malvern from 11 miles away. I want to start seeing Hot Springs here or something on Interstate 30, please. And here's where we're meeting with US 67 once again. And on 270, we're now just getting a junction Interstate 30. I want to see Hot Springs, please, not just junction Interstate 30 by itself. Here we're joining with Interstate 30 westbound as we head towards Dallas. So wow, that is awesome by Arkansas. So you definitely make up for that one-liner for just signing I-30. And here's where we split off from Interstate 30 as we're now getting signed west for Hot Springs. So well done. In fact, we get Hot Springs from 10 miles away. Here we meet with US Highway 70, and we're not going to be concurrent with it once again. And I have no idea why this Arkansas 270 shield is here. One, that just appeared like a few years ago, and two, Arkansas 270 does not exist, so this is just like some oddity error shield that's just sitting right next to this junction. So why does it exist? Anyways, here's where US 70 splits off from us as we're going to be heading towards, I wonder where now. Oh, it looks like we're now getting signed west for Mount Ida. I mean, sure, that is the last incorporated town we'll be passing through for the rest of Arkansas, but it only has like 900 people. You know what I think should actually be signed here all the way up until the 71 junction? That should be Fort Smith, because I looked and US 270 is actually the fastest way to Fort Smith from here, coming from Hot Springs. So Fort Smith should definitely be on here, not Mount Ida. But of course, Arkansas is sticking with Mount Ida, and in Mount Ida we actually get a very terrible mileage sign with two unincorporated communities, Y City, and they literally stick with it. So these are just 3 terrible mileage signs that I found in Arkansas, which I do not like at all. Also, Y City should not be signed on any highway. Anyways, here in the booming metropolis of Y City, we're now going to be joining with the S71 southbound as we head towards Mena and Texarkana. And now we're going to be joining with US Highway 59 as 59 and 270 are going to be heading out of Arkansas here. And we get a mileage time with Poto. Oklahoma is our primary from 53 miles away, which I think is an awesome choice favoring 59 here. But our next mileage time we actually now get 2 Oklahoma places, Poto still as our primary from 44 miles away. Now we're entering into the state of Oklahoma as we're going through the Washita Mountains here. And here we meet with US Highway 259 once again. And we're now getting signed for Heavener on the top line and Poto as our primary still from 29 miles away. Here in Heavener, we split off from US Highway 270 as we're now getting signed for Lake Worcester State Park. So we're getting signed for a state park instead of, like, I don't know, Worcester itself or some other town, like Wilburton, please. For the next mileage time, we just get the state park on the top line and the actual town that the lake is named after. This is just a terrible mileage sign. Here we're now going to be joining with US 271 once again as we're now heading west toward Wilburton, which is a good choice. But our next mileage time we actually now get McAllister as our primary, once again from 68 miles away. So they signed McAllister from 68 miles on eastbound, and here you can see it again on westbound. So McAllister is the home of 68, so let's go. Here's where 271 splits off from us as 270 is going to be continuing east towards McAllister. But our next mileage time we now get Wilburton as our primary from 29 miles away. I want to see McAllister come back, please. Red Oak is not important at all. But luckily, once we go through Wilburton, we now get McAllister as our primary once again from 31 miles away. Here we meet with US Highway 69 once again, and we can see that's still getting signed north for Muskogee. And after going through McAllister, we now get Ada as our primary from 55 miles away, and this is actually favoring Oklahoma Highway 1 here, which I think is an awesome choice, because Ada is actually a pretty big city here in this part of Oklahoma. Here's where we split off from Oklahoma Highway 1 as it will head towards Ada. We're now going to be joining with US 75 as we head towards Holdenville and Tulsa. In fact, our next mileage time, we actually do get Tulsa as our primary from 96 miles away, so that's a pretty long distance. Well done, Oklahoma. Here's where we split off from US Highway 75, as 270 is now going to be continuing towards Seminole. In our next mileage time, we do get Seminole as our primary from 20 miles away. And here in Seminole, we meet with US Highway 377 along with Oklahoma Highway 99 here. And Oklahoma 3 is also going to be joining with us. And yes, Oklahoma 3 is that long, it has its own separate east and west branches with it, but just like how a few US highways do, so that is pretty cool. Our next mileage time, we actually now get Norman as our primary from 48 miles away, which Oklahoma is favoring State Highway 9 here, which I think is an awesome choice. Norman is a pretty famous city and is where the University of Oklahoma is located. In Tecumseh, we're now going to be reuniting with US Highway 177 as we're now getting signed north for Shawnee and Oklahoma City, so Oklahoma City gets a mention. Let's go. We're now going to be joining with Oklahoma Highway 3W, so we were concurrent with 3E and now we're concurrent with 3W here. Anyways, here in Shawnee, we meet with Interstate 40 as we're now going to be concurrent with westbound 40 as we head towards Oklahoma City. I do not like that eastbound control at all. And do not be alarmed, no, that is not an air shield. Today I learned that there is an actual Oklahoma Highway 270. It's like the US 219 / Maryland 219 situation, as Oklahoma 270 is just a branch of what was US Highway 270's route before it was rerouted onto Interstate 40. So after that 60-something mile concurrency with Interstate 40, we're splitting off as we're now getting signed west for Calumet. No, now this is where we can sign Watonga, not Calumet. But luckily in our next mileage time, we do get Watonga as our primary from 29 miles away. And how many different mileage times have we seen with the primary being 29 miles away? It's too many. Anyways, here in Geary, we're now going to be concurrent with US Highway 281, and we're now going to be heading up towards Watonga. But our next mileage time, we actually now get Sealing as our primary from 54 miles away. I mean, if you want to start signing something that's further away, I would prefer to see Woodward instead, because Sealing only has 600 something people. Just sign Woodward instead of Sealing, please. Anyways, here in Watonga, we're now going to be concurrent with Oklahoma Highway 3 once again, along with Oklahoma 33. And we now actually do get Woodward as our primary from 61 miles away, so well done, Oklahoma. Here we meet with US Highway 60 once again, getting signed for Visay, and we're now going to be heading towards Woodward and Fairview. Fairview is actually for 281 and 60, while we're heading towards Woodward. And here's where 60 and 281 splits off from us, and we're now going to be by ourselves as we head towards Woodward. In fact, our next mileage time, we actually now get Guyman as our primary from 158 miles away. You better not be tricking me, Oklahoma. You better not be pulling another Oklahoma City situation, please. But here on the outskirts of Sealing, we're reuniting with US Highway 183 as we're going to be heading towards Woodward. And of course they are pulling my strings because we're not getting signed for Fort Supply from 46 miles away. Where was Guyman? I want to see Guyman come back. Guyman is like the biggest city in the Oklahoma Panhandle. That should be on this mileage sign, not Fort Supply. That's where US 183 splits off. Here in Woodward, we're now going to be reuniting with US Highway 412, and we're going to have that long concurrency with it. And luckily, our next mileage time, we do get Guyman as our primary from 120 miles away. So welcome back, Guyman. You better be sticking all the way up until we split off from 412, please. And here, outside of Fort Supply, US 183 does split off from 270 and 412 here. And we do get Guyman still as our primary from 108 miles away, with Beaver being Here we meet with US Highway 283 in the middle of nowhere once again. And here in Elkwood, we split off from US Highway 412 as that'll be heading towards Guyman. And we're not going to be heading north towards Beaver now. In fact, our next mileage time, we now get Forgan from 21 miles away. Hold up, let me look up what the population of Gate is. Nope, I am done. I am seriously done with this. Good night, y'all. I can't do this with Oklahoma anymore. They're just too terrible. But if you seriously want to know, the population of Gate, Oklahoma is only 54 people. And here's the weird thing, US 270 does not go to Gate. In fact, it goes in the opposite direction of Gate, Oklahoma. So I have no idea why Oklahoma is signing to place with only 54 people as a primary on a highway that does not even go to Gate. So this has got to be the contender for one of the worst mileage signs ever, like I have ever seen. In fact, when we meet US 64, it's not even signed. We get Forson and Buffalo. There is no Gate, so why in the world was Gate being signed? Luckily, once we join up with 64, we do get Guyman as our primary once again from 60 miles away. That is actually for US Highway 64, working sign for Liberal from 28 miles away, which should have been on that Gate mileage sign. Anyways, we're not going to be reuniting with US Highway 83 as we head north towards Liberal, and 83 southbound with 64 is going to be heading towards Guyman. Our next mileage sign, we actually get Hugoton, Oklahoma as our primary from 42 miles away, so that is an interesting choice. And here we are entering back into the state of Kansas.
What's a Kansas?
And here's the terminus of US Highway 270 at US 83 and 54. And I don't know why they could do this style on US 54 itself, because we can see that 270 ends here and is not here with US 83. Oh, but if we take a look back a couple years ago, we can see that they had US 83 and 270 have a ghost concurrency with each other. It ends here at this junction. I'm glad that Kansas replaced this direction of US Highway 270 and 83. Now why can't they do the same on US 54 proper? So with that, we end US Highway 270 and we move on to the way it should be. So these are all the places that I think should be signed on 270 because of all the terrible signage in Oklahoma and western Arkansas. Going eastbound, I would start off with Guyman, then Beaver, then Woodward, then go straight for Oklahoma City, then Fort Smith, then Tecumseh, then Seminole, then McAllister, then Wilburton, which is fine, then Heavener, then Neenah, then Hot Springs, then Malvern, then Sheridan, and finally Pine Bluff. And then going westbound, I'd start off with Sheridan, then go towards Malvern, then Hot Springs, then Fort Smith instead of Mount Ida, then Poto, then McAllister, then Seminole, then Tecumseh, then Oklahoma City, then favor Interstate 40 inside Amarillo, then once we split off, Watonga, Woodward, Guyman, and Beaver, and then finally Liberal. No Gate nonsense. And that ends US 270. Well, that definitely was a lot of fun. That highway was terribly signed, especially with that stupid mileage sign with Gate, Oklahoma, which is something that US 270 doesn't even pass through. Seriously, what was Oklahoma thinking? But anyways, here are my next few highways. If you have any intersection requests for any of these upcoming highways, please let me know down in the comment section below and I'll make sure to shout you out once these highways release. So thank you guys for watching and I'll see y'all next week as we do the Great US 98. Bye!